Let's talk about the latest then, notably this match tonight, of course, here in Paris, on the outskirts of Paris, with our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, it's a real headache, this, isn't it, really, for the French authorities?
I think the French authorities are going through 24 hours that they would rather not have to go through. First of all, with that gala last night, the protests around Paris between the Gare Saint-Lazare, the station, and Place de la République. 6,000 to 8,000 people turning out for that to show their anger about this Zionist far-right meeting in Paris. And then tonight, this game, Israel-France, which is taking place at the Stade de France. You mentioned the figures there, 4,000 police officers, 1,600 special security agents. The raid, which is the special elite security force which is going to be in charge of looking after the Israeli players themselves. And if that wasn't enough, just to compare this with what would happen on a normal game, you'd have about 1,500 police officers. In this game, it's 20% of those who will be attending tonight are from the police and from the security. I think the French don't want to leave anything to chance. All the shops around the Stade de France will be closed from this afternoon, and no one is going to be allowed to sit in the front row. There are going to be barriers which are set up to stop any crowd violence or any members of the crowd trying to make their way onto the pitch. I think the French learned a lesson from what they saw happening in Amsterdam. They don't want that to happen again here in Paris. A lot of questions being asked also as to whether or not that game should just be banned, cancelled completely. The French authorities are saying no, because they say sport and politics should be kept separate. This is a football game. This should go ahead as normal, and there's no reason why it could or should cause trouble anywhere, particularly in the region of the or the vicinity of the Stade de France. Should it have been moved elsewhere? That's another question that's been raised. The authorities are saying could be held at Parc des Princes, which is slightly easier to police than the Stade de France in northern Paris in Saint-Denis. That also has been refused. The game is going to go ahead tonight on schedule, but there are only about 20,000 supporters who are going to be taking part in this game out of 80,000 capacity of the Stade de France. That's even lower than the lowest ever turnout for a France match, which was 34,000.
Anti-Semitic attacks here in France, have they increased since the Hamas events of September, the 7th of October last year and the war in Gaza?
Yeah, they really have gone up a lot, and I think that's an added worry for the French authorities. What we've seen, according to the French Interior Ministry, is 887 anti-Semitic attacks in the first quarter of 2024 in France. That's a 192% increase over the same period in 2023. And more worryingly than that, there seems to be more young people getting involved in anti-Semitic attacks, particularly in school. 67 incidents in the first quarter of 2024 compared to only 29 in the same period in 2023. And the area of France where there are the most attacks is the Paris region. 53% of those attacks taking place around Paris. That's up from 37% in 2023. And 800 people have now emigrated to France, from France to Israel since the attacks of the 7th of October. I think through fear that there is growing anti-Semitism in France and it's maybe time to leave the country.
How significant, then, do you think it is, Philip, that both President Emmanuel Macron and Prime Minister Michel Barnier are going to be at this game?
Well, if you put it this way, back in October of last year, just 5 days after the attacks of the 7th of October, there was a huge rally in Paris to declare that France was against all anti-Semitic activity. The person who was conspicuous by his absence at that rally was Emmanuel Macron. So there's been growing pressure on the French president to go to this match tonight. He said he's going to be there, so is the Prime Minister Michel Barnier. It's a show of strength. France is standing up to anybody who wants to denounce football, anybody who wants to denounce the Israeli players, any form of anti-Semitism. He's going to be accompanied by two former presidents, Nicolas Sarkozy and François Hollande. The only one who really likes football out of all of that is François Hollande. But I think it's a show of strength on the part of France that anti-Semitism is something that France will not put up with.
Philip, thanks so much. Philip Turle, International Affairs Editor here on France 24.